Last night, I just watched the movie Mr. Holland's Opus. What this is about the life of this one man who wants to become a music teacher, and he eventually becomes really great at his job, but there are people who are really angry at him, who don't want him to succeed. And there's this one man who is wanting to fire him and not wanting him to be happy, and that's played by William M. Macy. And so as the movie goes on, you really get to learn about the life of him and his fellow characters. But there isn't really much of an arc of what develops in his story. It really just adds a lot of pretty much nothing. And this movie just isn't very original. It's not very well put. It's really boring. It's really dull. The movie's cliched. The movie is just really flat out a flop. And I really rank this movie a 0 out of 5. I hated every single second of this movie. It was so awful. There's this one scene of where he has one of his students play an instrument for him because she's not very good at what she does, and so she can't play this one note. Here's a photo of them right now, and she can't hit this one note. And he asks her, "What body feature do you really like about yourself?" She thinks for a second. She says, "My hair." He's like, "Why is that?" "Because my dad says it reminds him of the morning sunshine." And I really was just flabbergasted how corny that line was. I'm like, that was so corny. And it got even worse. She closed her eyes, she focused on the morning sunshine, and she hit the note. Oh, she hit the note. Oh, how unexpected. Not. I mean, really, I could predict every single scene in this movie. It was so cliched, it was laughable. One scene in this movie, I laughed so hard because it was just so predictable and so safe to the point where I was literally thinking that this was just a bunch of, I don't know, politicians or something, not wanting to take chances. And one scene in this movie I really hated was there is like this one scene of where Mr. Holland was in this marching band, and eventually there's these sirens that go off in this parade, and everyone's closing their ears because they don't want to be able to affect them, and everyone's reacting to it except for Mr. Holland's son. And Mr. Holland's wife tries everything to make him hear, and they find out he only has 10% of his hearing with him, and he's 90% deaf. But that's what I really hate about it, because they really don't develop anything about his family. I know nothing about his wife. I know nothing about his kid. I know nothing about his students. There's nothing in this movie that develops and just stays put to make it really genuine and original. And that's what really makes me angry about this movie, is it just doesn't want to take a chance to really become great. It has every single cliche in the book. For example, in the end of this movie, there is like this one scene of where William M. Macy is finally wanting to get back at him and fire him. And eventually, he goes into the auditorium, and there's a ton of people that just cheer him on. "Woo woo! Mr. Holland's Opus, you're an amazing teacher!" And I'm like, I've seen that how many times? A ton of times. It was so corny. I'm like, is this movie ever gonna end? I looked at my phone a couple times, maybe watched a few videos, and the movie was still not over. And I was only an hour into this movie, and I literally thought I was watching it for the last 4 hours. It was so boring. Yeah, just a flat out really bad movie. Those are a few scenes, but it's just so painful for me to talk about all these scenes. So that's all I got on my mind for now. I'm going to read some of the quotes and this movie about how bad this movie is. Irresistible by The Today Show. More irresistibly bad. 2 thumbs up by Siskel and Ebert. Yeah, right. One of the year's top 10 best. No, just no. Sneak preview says, wonderful. WBAI radio says, don't miss it. Yeah, right. Just a very unenjoyable movie that's really is not very thought provoking, is really cliched, and is a bore fest.